Wake up every day and say your affirmations. Go. Wake up every day and say your affirmations. Go. Wake up every day and say your affirmations. Go. Wake up every day and say your affirmations. Go. Happiness and kindness is a choice. Wake up.
There was a delay.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. We got
yeah. Like I'm going on a ride. Love it.
I'm glad John be taking care of that. That's just thank you, John. All right. I'm live everywhere.
Oh, wait. Let me go. Yeah, mine didn't pop up. All right, now it is. Oh, wait, newborns. Okay. All right.
Did she take me? You know what? She didn't. This is starting to become an abusive relationship between me and my daughter. She is stealing all my things. It's I can't even call it my iPad anymore because I never see it unless I need to see it. It's crazy. I love her to death though. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. This is things that people don't want to talk about. Brought to you by God Level. That will be me. I am a mother. I am a nurse. I'm an entrepreneur. I have this podcast, and I am everything good. John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Yes. This is John Skywalker, the Sly Talker here, lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, student of psychology, and I'm a father. And I have three hip-hop albums. Three hip-hop albums available on all streaming platforms. Dimensions, Higher Dimensions, and Light Benders. Real hip-hop, true lyricism. Go peep that. Go cop that. Stream that. Buy it. That's the best way to support also. You can buy it. I have another album called The Law of Affirmations to be released in October 2022. So that's next month. Be on the lookout of that. And salute.
King Newborn, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
Peace. This is King Newborn. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Newborn Everything. And as always, I am.
Diamond, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
All right. I hit that poo, Uncle Jasaneb. I am Saba Diamond. That is teacher, master teacher of African spiritual science, father of 4, one that is teaching and bringing all of the good news about who you are to you. And follow me for more of the stuff that I'm doing. See me on my Facebook at Saba Diamond, and also on Instagram as Your Life Coach, Saba Diamond, Your Life Coach. All right. So God incarnate, Uncle Jasanev.
All right. Tonight's topic is trigger.
Is that what the answer is?
Triggers.
Okay.
Trigger or triggers. Know your triggers. This actually hit home for me. A lot of people don't know this because I kind of kept it quiet, but I flew back to Houston Friday. And everything was good. You know, my best friend picked me up from the airport and, you know, took me home, and we had dinner. And as I walked around, you know, I didn't feel anything at that time. It was when I woke up. And I woke up and I was in that house. And I finally understand what it means when it says the walls is closing in on you. I started to panic. I started having anxiety attack. I started having flashes of events that had taken place prior, which led me to do some things that, you know, I feel bad about. I apologize to myself for doing it. And then I disappointed you all. I really, yeah, I disappointed you all. You are my brothers, and I am so grateful for the way that you all came at me together as one to sit down, to talk, to find out what we can do moving forward in handling strong emotions, because that let me know two things that day: that I'm still not healed from that
Mm.
particular incident or incidents or that moment. Um, However, I have great men in my corner. I'm very fortunate to have that. Three, all, what you see here, these gentlemen right here are my brothers. I love them dearly. The way that they came at me Monday was nothing but love, understanding, and compassion. Something that I myself have not received before. And I remember when the conversation started, I was taken back because I didn't realize what I did Saturday made it to them. And I immediately wanted to get defensive, and I had to tell myself, shut up, listen, take it in. Um, and when we talked, you all did not talk down to me. You didn't shame me. You didn't make me feel less than. All you did was show me in that moment was understanding, compassion, and love. So I'm very grateful for that. I know I say it all the time on my Facebook that I'm fortunate to have you all, but I'm standing in front of, even on my podcast right now, I am fortunate to have all of you in my corner. And I thank you. I love this. Thank you.
Ashe.
Amazing. I
Ashe.
wanted to put that out there before we get started because um, when I sent the text message that Monday to talk about triggers, that was the reason why I wanted to talk about it, is because of what I experienced Saturday. And it also made me realize that healing is not a straight path. It is not. You're not just going to get on this road and then just keep going without having bumps along the way. And when I say those strong emotions came and it hit me so hard, I remember talking to my brother. I said, it's not the city, it's the place. And before you know it, I allowed my emotions to dictate my actions that day. So I say that I failed in not controlling them?
At that moment, you think it was a
At that
failure?
moment, I ain't gonna say a failure.
Yeah.
Um, I lost control. I lost control.
Mm.
I was no longer in control in that moment when I did what I did. No longer. And I felt bad afterward. And, I thought that that would be my little secret.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad. And after we talked, um, I'm going to say it again. I'm glad it was you all. I'm glad it was you all that sat me down, that talked to me. I'm glad it was you. I'm glad it was all of you. So thank you. I love you. I I could not make it this far without any of you. Starting with my brother. I've always said this man was the smartest man I have ever come in contact with.
Yeah, he is pretty smart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We bumped heads in the beginning because of the things that I've been through in the past. So I was always challenging men in authority figure. Very smart, very intelligent, still one of the smartest men I know. And then for me to run across John, me and John have been good friends for years. And now Diamond, you know, coming onto this podcast, I don't know what day this was, but you sent me something and you basically said, I am at your service.
That's right.
That's
That I
peace.
am.
That's peace. That's peace.
You know, I don't wanna go too long, but I wanted to say that. Thank you. Now we can jump into triggers. Woo. A trigger is in psychology is a stimulus such as a smell, sound, sight that triggers feeling of trauma. People typically use this term describing post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm.
A trigger is a reminder of past trauma. This reminder can cause a person to feel overwhelmed, sadness, anxiety, and panic. I felt all of that Saturday when waking up. And I thought I was good. When I woke up, that's when everything hit me. Um, flashbacks is a vivid, often negative memory that may appear without warning. It causes someone to lose track of their surroundings and relive the traumatic event. I relived that whole experience being there in that morning to the point where I felt like the walls was closing in on me. I had to leave. Like I couldn't wait for the movers to get there. I even went, I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. I said, it's not the city, it's the place. Um, Triggers can take many forms. They can be a physical location or an anniversary of a traumatic event. A person could
Mm-hmm.
also be triggered by internal process such as stress. Sometimes triggers are predictable. In that moment, um, it wasn't. It came out of nowhere. From the moment I woke up, it was like it was there, like waiting for me to open up my eyes, and then like, bam. Um, let's see. Sometimes triggers are predictable. For instance, a veteran may have flashbacks while watching a violent movie. If
Ooh, that one. That one.
you want to expound on that,
Oh no, keep going.
okay,
That one.
okay.
Keep going.
I just want to, um, hold on. Let me see. A person who smells incense during a sexual assault may have a panic attack when the same smell of incense is around. Oh
Yes.
my God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's certain places in the city I do not go because it reminds me of the time I was when I was a child. So I kind of steer clear from that. Some people use triggers in the context of mental health concerns, such as substance abuse or anxiety. In these cases, a trigger can be a cue that prompts an increase in symptoms. For example, a person recovering from anorexia may be triggered by photos of very thin celebrities. When a person sees these photos, they may feel the urge to starve themselves again. The exact brain function behind, I'm sorry, how triggers are formed. The exact brain functioning behind triggers is not fully understood. I'm sorry. However, there are several theories about how trigger works. Um, when a person is in a threatening situation, they may engage in a fight or flight response. The body goes on high alert, prioritizing all resources to react to a situation. Functions that aren't necessary for survival, such as digestive, are put on hold. I didn't have an appetite Saturday.
Mm, okay.
I didn't eat until I left. Like everything just kind of like stopped. It was almost, I was like nauseated, nauseous, sickness, like a sick. My stomach was upset, like, and then I would have like these emotional outbursts where I would start crying, and then I would stop, and then I would just like focus on getting everything together to leave, and then I'll calm down, and then when everything was done, I just sat and I just had a moment with myself, and once I had everything packed, I left and never looked back. I just I drove nonstop. Like all night. I couldn't wait to get home. Like I needed to get home. And the moment I got home and went and got my son, um, that was like the best feeling in the world. Like I needed that. Um, hold on. Another theory is that triggers are powerful because they often involve senses. Sensory information, sight, sounds, especially smells, play a large part in memory. It's like everything I looked at, everything I laid eyes on in that apartment was just too much. The way the furniture was set up, the TV, the window, the plants, all of that. Like I had to get out of there.
Avoidance. Yeah.
Yeah, I was running.
Yeah. That's one of the symptom clusters of PTSD is avoidance. Avoiding the memories, avoiding any sensory information that's connected to the event, avoiding places, avoiding people, avoiding running. It's a defense mechanism. So it makes sense. It's the rational, well, somewhat rational thing to do. That's what the ego tends to do.
Anybody else?
I want to highlight. I want to highlight a very key consideration here, that triggers don't have anything to do with being too sensitive. And you know, in our culture, especially on social media, especially in any media broadcast, a lot of us have been considerate to give trigger warnings whenever we post content or whether we broadcast, and it's usually related to a certain topic. It might be homophobia, racism, child abuse, violence, incest, suicide, self-harm, fat shaming, anything related to like pregnancy issues or whatever. So a lot of the times when we're broadcasting, whether it be visual or on radio, we usually give trigger warnings, right? But we want to make a distinction here that we're not talking about people who are being too sensitive, right? So in certain regards, when we're having certain topics about, let's say, violence or sexual abuse, we give our trigger warnings, right? And these conversations tend to be very uncomfortable, right? But we want to make a distinction here that discomfort is not the same as traumatizing, okay, or trauma. So certain individuals, we're not going to say who they are, regarding topics of, let's just say, race, they may feel uncomfortable having those conversations, but they've never been traumatized by any of the experiences relating to it. So it's easy to have a conversation about something that you feel uncomfortable about, but you haven't been traumatized. Now, if you had a trauma related to the issue, that's a legitimate trigger. But if you just simply feel uncomfortable, as in this doesn't elicit an emotional reaction that's hyperactive, right? If it's not going to lead to that, you're just having an uncomfortable moment. So we want to be clear here when we're making the distinction between somebody being triggered. Like, oh, you're talking about me, I'm triggered. Or we're talking about this particular thing regarding men or women or Black people. Oh, I'm triggered. You know, it's becoming a thing that you say. And as a culture, if we're not careful, we tend to diminish the value of what triggered means. And so it becomes so commonplace to just toss the word around to really dilute that for some people that are actually triggered by certain topics or certain representations of their trauma. You tend to kind of like push them aside. You tend to ostracize them, or you tend to belittle them. We almost risk gaslighting them. Like, oh, you're being too sensitive about this. This isn't that big of a deal, right? And compassion is definitely due when the person is trying to communicate, this is triggering for me. I can't have this conversation right now, or I can't interact with this situation right now, just right now. So I need to be in a safe space, right? So I just wanted to make that distinction that we're not just throwing this word around aimlessly. We really are trying to get to the core of what it means to be triggered and understanding, knowing, inventorying your triggers so that you can conquer them and they don't conquer you. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna just stop right there. Give Brother Dion, King Newborn. See, I'm doing the thing that you, man. That's
You're doing the thing that I do.
Yeah, I'm doing. Oh my gosh, man! God,
It's love.
It's okay. It's
gosh,
all love.
that is
It's all
infectious.
love.
That's how you know we get close. That's how you know we get
That's
close.
real.
Family,
That's
right?
real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to January, baby.
Woo!
Yeah,
I'm looking forward
yeah,
to January.
yeah, me too.
King Newborn, what you got? What you got?
I don't even know if I want to say this, but you know, it's all good. So I did have a moment in a period of my life where it seems like you're taking a lot of things outwardly personal, but not knowing they were default triggers that had been there for quite some time, which kind of forced me to drink as if that would mask I want to say mask the situation to where I will be numb, but it didn't help anything. And it took some time to understand that, but at the same time, I didn't know what was triggering me. Didn't know the root to what was triggering me. So it took me some time to really learn those triggers and not allow them to trigger me, you know. And I think that's the hardest part, like John broke down. It's one thing for somebody to say something smart to you and you go off. That's one thing. It's another thing when a isolated situation or a visual or a memory that's associated or attached to a item, place, or thing, and you just automatically be like, how did I get here? You know, it'd be like, dang, this crazy. So during that time, I just became a heavy drinker, something that I wasn't too proud of. And the more I drank, the more damaging I became, not just to myself, but other people's lives. And it's not a comfortable space to be in because you tend to blame everybody else for your shortcomings.
There it is.
And that's something that I look back on. I had to forgive myself. I had to forgive myself for not being in control of me. It's another thing that helped me understand that, you know, in our community, when you don't have the resources or tools to either aid and assist or even back you on what's going on in your life, it make it hard to take that walk by yourself. So just to add to something that my sister says, she always say, why you only say I am? Well, my past, I am. My triggers, I am. You know, my shortcomings, I am. And I accept it all. So when I say I am, sister, it's bigger than just those two words. It's huge. Because it took a lot for me to get right here. You know, it's numerous of times that you would say, you know, brother, you're smart, you're intelligent, and you know, I'd be like, nah, I don't even feel like I'm there yet. But what's there? You know, how do you in one person's lifetime say that you smart when it's still a vast array of information to learn? You know, and I appreciate this podcast because there's a lot of stuff that I look over my life from my childhood, growing up, to help me understand why certain things came about. And I mean, this is healing for me too. And like I say, it's hard for me to get along with. No, I don't want to say it like that. This is a true stepping stone for me to be able to get along with other alpha males, and there is no challenge.
Right.
You know, we're just doing the ram thing all day, every day,
Mhm.
and you're not accomplishing anything. There's no build. So I appreciate you, sis, for putting this panel together. And it all stemmed from you. Like you said, you brought it to John. John said, "How can I be of service?" You asked me to listen in on a podcast, and then you announced that I am a member, and that's what it is. And I said I am of service, so I'm here. And Brother Daamen, over time, from watching us, he decided within himself that he wanted to be of service with us to help heal our community. And here we are. What are triggers? You know, so yeah, John. I definitely from the hard not life had to learn the difference between being triggered and what is a trigger.
Wow.
Wasn't easy, but I am here, sis. I'm here.
Thank you.
Appreciate you,
I
God.
love you. I
Love you too,
appreciate you too. Diamond, you got anything you want to add?
Well, you know, my whole life, actually, my whole journey to spirituality, what led to my spiritual initiation, it was me trying to sort out and sort through my triggers, realizing how they were literally controlling my life and giving me a bunch of outcomes that were undesirable by myself. I didn't want them, and I got caught in a cycle that that was not reflective of my my true intentions. You know, my true intentions were to build beautiful relationships. I've always been a friendly guy, you know, wanting to be fair and just you know, just have good relationships with people, period. But that's not the way it was in my life, you know, because of when other things happened to me. Kids, and I was the kid that got picked on in school all the time. You know, I was the stinky kid in school, you know, and it's because I was, you know, we were very poor, so poor to where we stayed in condemned houses, didn't have a father, no father figure, always stayed in the worst of neighborhoods. The kids were bad, the adults were bad, even the schools that we went to, the teachers were bad. So there was like no escape. And at some point, you just get tired of it. And all I knew is at some point I was aware enough, even as a child, to start looking at some things that were common denominators, you know, of other people going through their triggers and responding to their triggers. That's what it was. It was a big fishbowl full of people dealing with their triggers. They were being triggered, okay, and then responding to those triggers. And so it led to conflict, discord, turmoil. And then I, as a child, was caught in the middle of it all. And of course, getting the influx of all that, because even that broke down the borders of my own home, wherever I was. And those things became expressed even within my own household, between me and my sisters and brothers, my mother, and even seeing her going through abusive relationships, you know, that I was too small to do anything about. But I tried and almost, you know, got myself killed, you know, trying to protect my mother. You know, so all of this eventually snowballed into a big trigger of my own, and it became a source of uh, I was always on this fence. you know it took nothing to tip me over into that realm of anger and that behavior where I actually expressed that anger. Found myself fighting all the time. I wasn't a talker. I didn't talk mess. It was like either you're gonna do it or you're not. And so
Hmm.
let's get to it. So for me, if you're too close to me talking mess and I didn't like it, I just went in, right? I just dove on them, as Eddie Murphy would say. I just dived on them. But at the end of the day, whether I won or lost the fight, at the end of the day, that relationship was something that I couldn't go back and repair. There was no repairing that relationship. No, mainly because I didn't know how. Being still controlled and um, influenced by your triggers, that does not enable you to go and do the repairing. You have to start to deal with your triggers first, before you can do that. And so I spent a lot of years not being able to repair anything because I have not dealt with my own triggers. I actually coddled them. I actually used them as excuses, to do what I was doing. And somehow it became this badge that I wore. It became a part of my own identity. And that became a problem. Because even as I got into adulthood, got into college, when I was in college, I instantly earned the name Nino, which was after Nino Brown from New Jack City. And it wasn't because I was selling dope, because I don't sell dope, never did. But it was because I was quick to slap somebody. I was slapping everybody. Okay, everybody who didn't agree with me or that made me feel a certain way, you just got slapped. That's just how it was, and I didn't care what the repercussions were. But at the end of the day, that's not what I really wanted. It's not what I really wanted. These things made me do things that I did not want to do. They put me in positions I didn't want to be in, and yet I didn't have a way. I didn't have an answer for that. I didn't have an answer for it. And it wasn't until I decided that no more. I'm not going to do this anymore. So I had to start working towards getting rid of those. So at that point, I started dealing with these triggers little by little, and recognize them as for what they are. These are emotional conditionings. And so you need to change those conditions with another condition. So how do you do that? I had to now form the condition that I wanted. I had to condition myself to be who I wanted to be, to have the experiences I wanted to have. I had to become somebody who was worthy of that which I thought I deserved.
I had Brother Dom, real fast. I'm sorry. I got to jump in on what you just said. Sir. Can you please that portion right there when you just said you had to replace what was once a trigger with what you actually wanted to become.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I literally walked that.
Yeah.
Because I fought myself numerous of times on why everything I'm touching, it seems to be destroyed or it decays or it turns against me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that part right there, it had to be the inner me to come out and say, yo, you, hey, this is destruction.
Mm-hmm.
You are destroying other lives by the actions of your decisions. That's
mm-hmm.
Man.
That's right.
That was a hard switch though. That was a hard switch. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a couple of weeks. That was a hard switch because there's so many things as you're trying to make a change and make adjustments, you'll find something else. It's almost like trying to what's the word? What I'm trying to say? It's trying to what do you call it? Is it basically like as much as you're trying to get to the root of the problem, every time you fix something, it'll reroute to something else that initially started to where you are right now trying to fix. So every time I did that,
emotional matrix, yes, absolutely. And I can
Yeah.
tell you something. It is by far the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. There is nothing harder than to fight yourself, than to make this change yourself. That's why many people they avoid it, because it's not the path of least resistance. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of resistance.
Yeah.
So listen, only the strong do this. So you have to be strong-minded enough to make the choice, to make that choice that you want something different, and then to realize that that's all up to you and nobody else.
Oh.
You have to stop blaming other
Committed.
folks. Yes, you got to be committed and devoted to this. That's exactly what it is. And look, that begins the whole reason why you are here in the first place, is to do exactly that. Is to cultivate that within you that is conducive to this balance and this order that you truly do want. A lot of people, I don't care who it is, whether it's a gangster, whether it's even a serial killer, everybody's out to some kind of level of satisfaction or happiness. They're seeking enjoyment. Everybody is. But it's how we do it, and it's what we deem to be the what's going to bring us happiness and enjoyment. That becomes the thing that's convoluted. But when we understand that our happiness and enjoyment is going to be reflective in the overall health and cooperation of everybody, because I can't just go and like get my satisfaction of just beating somebody down, because when I did do this, got my satisfaction from beating somebody down, but guess what? It that was temporary.
Ooh.
It was temporary. It was just one moment of pleasure, a very brief moment of pleasure.
Yeah.
But then I was still left with the residual nasty residue of it that I still had to deal with. Regret.
Long-term consequences.
Oh man.
That one.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
sis.
I definitely know that one.
Yeah.
I
I just lived that one.
fix on that. Yeah, I just did a last minute fix on that.
Mm-hmm.
I had that.
Absolutely.
Weekend. And then I ain't gonna say consequences, but when y'all set me down and was like, what are we doing? You know, I couldn't do nothing but respect that. That made me love y'all that much more. I swear, like y'all wasn't angry, you wasn't mad at me. And it made okay.
There's no need. How can we be when we really see the greatness in you?
Mm-hmm.
I love y'all.
I'm
gonna jump back into some of the common internal triggers, which is anger, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, vulnerable, abandoned, out of control, loneliness, muscle tension, memories tied to a traumatic event, pain, sadness. Let me see. John posted a question. What was your question? Because I had an answer for that.
Oh yeah. This is basically for everyone.
Okay. Do you know your triggers and their potential outcomes? I just recently, I'm gonna say recently, maybe a couple of years ago, came across. I don't know if you all are familiar with back in kindergarten, where you had put your coat up at and your little books in a little slot. Yeah, I know that is a trigger for me. I cannot. When I used to visit my cousin and she has a daycare, she has to cover them up when I come in. I literally stop in my tracks. I'm looking at it and I'm just like, and I'm getting a feeling that makes me want to cry. It must have been something. Whatever it was traumatic enough for me to actually block it out. I can't remember what it is. So I stay away from it. I just stay away from it. I don't like cubby holes. That's that's one of my things. That's it. And I wanted to talk. Where is Jay at? Jay, call in because you made a comment about. Yes, you told us.
I want to
I want to talk to
real
her.
quick. I want to just say something about Miss Amina, Peace Queen. She said her biggest triggers that she's aware of is abandonment and feeling misunderstood.
Yeah.
Miss Amina,
Big
I
time.
can
I've been
concur.
inclined with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can concur to that. That was like my childhood. That was my childhood. You know, man, I don't even want to get into that one. I don't think I'm ready for that. But yeah, that was a deep one for me. That was a deep one for me. So I can concur to that. Being
Yeah.
misunderstood for any child, you know, that's
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I have several clients that are dealing with that as well. And again, the key is to create your own personal level of security. Your own personal levels of security. So this is what
Boundaries.
I help them with. I help them move through a point to where they are secure on their own. And it's big moves. It's big moves. I have one girl actually. I told her to go get pregnant. Okay, go get pregnant, and that way you're giving life to something that you can depend on. Become a mother. Pour your love into a child. This is something she wanted to do anyway. She was just trying to wait to do it. She was trying to wait to see how that perfect partner. Now it's like, no, let's put the cart before the horse on this one.
Oh wow, okay.
Let's put the cart before the horse on this one. And being she's in a very different type of lifestyle. She's actually a gay person, so she was able to do that. And because it's not like she was waiting on a man anyway, but it's like put the cart before the horse. Get the baby because you're gonna do it this way anyway, and then now you want to practice giving to someone who is going to automatically appreciate it and give back to you, and that way you can be secure in that, and then let the other part come in. So she actually got very excited about that, very excited, and now we're still moving towards making it happen. But I told her there was a lot of steps to take before that can happen. So let's work on taking these steps. That doesn't happen for another year, you see. But these are the things that we do. That's just for her in her unique situation. I'm not telling everybody with those issues to go out and have a baby. What I'm saying, that was her particular situation. But the thing is that that's what I said before, is that I had to replace a condition with another condition, with one that I chose. So you have to create a condition. You have to choose a condition that is conducive to you, your own livelihood, your own well-being, and things like that, and nurture that condition and let it replace the condition that actually fosters the triggers.
She said she should get a pet instead.
Okay, a pet is well, she has a pet. She has a pet, but she needs real interaction, because even with a pet, she still gives of herself way too much in her relationships, and then the one time that they are looking the other way, just not giving her the attention, she falls off the deep end because she feels abandoned just by their very minute action of not giving her attention just for a split second. Then she's all over the place, and that's with a pet. Okay.
That's funny that you say that. And Miss Amina, I hope that you call in. But I want to add to the fact that from childhood to adulthood, as a child, since I felt abandonment and misunderstood, I would press heavily. I understand this now. I understand this then. I would press heavily to be a people pleaser. like be willing to do what was necessary to get your attention to focus on me because of what I felt the lack thereof, what I wasn't receiving from family, naturally. Um, and as becoming a pleaser, you find yourself going up and beyond a Call of Duty on multiple things to continue to engage with a set person or even in their life just to be able to socialize with them because you felt like it's a good thing. Ultimately, when something happens to offset that, like you just said, Brother Diamond, you find yourself all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, destruction. And then you destroy over here. So here I'm trying to latch to something else, and you destroy over there. Then you be like, well, I'm gonna go do this, and then you destroy over there. And then we look up, they be like, oh, you thought we went somewhere? No, we waiting on you to come fix this. Because it started with you. You messed this up. We gotta fix this. But not knowing it was because of abandonment, not knowing because I wasn't being understood, not knowing I wasn't receiving the proper nurturing, loving, or attention that I felt like I desired and I wanted. I'm causing havoc along the way throughout it all. And now my adulthood, I still got to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't
Right.
gone nowhere. I still got to fix it. It's waiting on me. It's like, yeah. Remember them bones you swept up under the rug? Yeah, you got to come holler at us.
I say.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a struggle. Oh, what was it? Phone call?
No, common situations that trigger intense emotion. While y'all are talking, we're still gonna give out this information. So
Mm-hmm.
like when there's that pause, I'm just gonna plug. I'm just gonna plug. Common situations that trigger intense emotions include rejection, betrayal, unjust treatment, challenged beliefs, helplessness, or loss of control, being excluded or ignored, disapproval, criticism, feeling unwanted or unneeded, feeling smothered or too needy, insecurity, loss of independency.
I say.
Ooh.
Now,
Um,
you said something important there because I saw that someone said that their trigger is anger. Their trigger is so. You have to know that there's a difference between the anger is not the trigger. That's the expression of the trigger. That's the emotional expression.
yes.
Okay. So look past so sometimes we get caught up in the emotion itself when that's nothing but more than the effect. The cause of that effect is going to be the trigger itself. So this is which is going to be linked to experiences that you've had, past experiences that you've had. And this is what you got to get into. What is it? Just like, and you said something extremely important, which also is have been scientifically proven and studied, how certain smells, just certain aromas, can actually bring about a whole experience for somebody and be a trigger, can put them in a state to where they're reliving that, and it's not a good experience. It could be a nice, pleasant smell, but because their rapist had a certain cologne on, or if their abusive stepdad or father had a certain cologne on, or there was a certain music playing when they come home. So certain sounds and things like that also becomes the trigger of that particular experience. And then the emotion comes, whether it's fear, whether it's anger, you enter into a fight or flight mode, even though that incident is not happening at that point. Now, I have to say, you have to understand something. You were already wired to do this. Already wired to do this. You didn't necessarily have to, but we all have fallen into this trap with our triggers, with these experiences at some point in our life, because we were into experiences as children before we even knew what to do about them. We experiences that we have no choice about, but then those experiences set up certain conditionings in our lives, and they govern how we're going to function as we get older. And then yes, it will affect your relationships with others. It's going to affect whether or not how you enjoy certain events, you know It's going to affect a lot of things. And then if you don't like being that limited, because that's what these are, limitations. If you don't like being that limited, then you have to figure out what is it then that causes you not to enjoy this particular event or act a certain way. Something as simple as somebody not driving up a hill. You know, they'll drive everywhere else. My mother would not drive on the freeway. She wouldn't go on the highways. You know, she wouldn't even turn. You remember those television sets? We had the big knob that we had to turn the channel. I'm really dating myself now. But she would look if we were on channel 5 and we wanted to go to channel 4, she would make us turn it all the way around to go to channel 4 instead of flip it one back. You know, so but there was something in her childhood, could be the way she was raised and things like that actually did that. There was one that my psychology teacher in college shared with us. He said it was like this, his wife, and he might have been just telling me a story, but I think it was like, triggers are limitations. Yes,
yes,
Amina.
They are. Amina, girl.
He said his wife would make these, would make a loaf. I think it was like a meatloaf. She would make the meatloaf, and then before she cook it, she will cut the ends off and take the ends and throw the ends away. Right? It's still meat. And he just wondering why are you doing that? And then she said, well, my mother would do this. You know, she said, and then so he went to her mother and asked, well, why did you cut off the ends of the meatloaf before you cooked it? She said, well, back then the pans only came like 9 inches, but we had a certain, for a big family, I had 5 pounds of beef. And so I couldn't fit all of that in a 9-inch pan. So I had to cut off the ends. So that's the way my daughter learned, because that's what she had to do. But now the pans are big enough to where you don't have to cut off the ends. Okay. And she's still cutting off the ends. So the thing about it is it's still traditional. So this is now generational triggers that we have to carry on. Not questioning why we do what we do and why we were taught to do what we're doing. A lot of times we're taught to actually follow the accordance of somebody else's triggers. And this is like literally taking us back into that parenting thing we talked about a couple of
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Literally
Yes,
taking us back into that. But you see how this stuff just flows from one thing to the next. It all connects, you know. So we start living out the triggers of our own parents, and they become our triggers.
That's great.
You see, so these are the things that we have to realize this, and we got to start questioning. People don't question.
Yeah.
They don't
Challenge.
question enough. Exactly. Know what balance looks like. Know what a healthy expression looks like. You know, so that we don't have a whole lot of examples of them today, but you can create your own.
Yes.
You can definitely listen to that inner voice, that inner soul, that inner light that actually wants you to live this life of enjoyment, of peace and happiness, and do what it takes to create that without harming anybody else. Without harming anybody else.
This is God Level. Who am I speaking with?
Amina, how you doing, Queen?
Hi, Queen. How are you?
Amina?
Peace, peace, peace.
Family.
She said, "Hey, family." I don't know if you all can hear her.
Oh, hey.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, first I have to say that Brother Diamond just said that, and I typed it in the chat. I think sometimes y'all be dropping gems, but y'all don't even realize what y'all be thinking. I can't even take credit for that. He said that the triggers were limitations, and I was like mind blown because it is. I have experienced that. More so specifically to like experience trauma. So I was sexually assaulted around Thanksgiving time, and then 2 years later, it was literally the night before Thanksgiving, and weird stuff. My life is so weird. So 2 years after the first time it happened to me, I came to Florence to hang out and left Florence and went to hang out with a male friend, or who I thought was a friend at that time, trying to get my mind off of what had happened to me 2 years prior. And the guy took the initiative to penetrate me without permission. And so on the anniversary of my first sexual assault, I was sexually assaulted the second time, and it was the day before Thanksgiving. So now every year as Thanksgiving approaches, I'm triggered about that situation. I'm learning to not hold on to them in a way where it causes me so much grief and sadness that I'm not able to move, but I allow myself to take whatever amount of space that I need to feel what I feel, because something that I used to do, I would not allow myself to have a moment. The very next day after the second sexual assault, it was Thanksgiving morning. I got up that morning. I went to volunteer at a local outreach program, serving people Thanksgiving meals, went grocery shopping for my mom, came back to her house, helped her finish food, sat and had a Thanksgiving dinner with them. Nobody at the table knew what I had went through. And so I know I posted on my personal page about healing out loud and how everybody is not going to heal out loud. They're not going to hear everything that has happened to them. And it's not our responsibility to take our healing process and publicate it in a way where everybody is privy to every single detail of our lives. Yes. But if we have gotten to a place of being healed enough to want to share the things that has helped us to overcome certain events, if we feel like it's a bonus for us to share it, then, do it. If it feels like it's something that you're forcing yourself just because it's almost hip nowadays to just like push your business out there on Front Street, then I advise against it. But yeah, I'm learning to overcome the idea that date on the calendar has to trigger me so much mentally and emotionally that it sets me back. So, like Diamond was saying, basically you do have to kind of replace the thing, the trigger. You have to find a way to like do something else to offset that trigger, like to whatever it is that you do now overpowers that trigger in a way where you'll no longer have that same emotional response. And so that's what I've been doing. I haven't been able to go to serving Thanksgiving meals on Thanksgiving, but what I started doing was taking those Thanksgiving and fasting during the day and just giving myself a day, like a self-care day. And if I feel like being around family and friends, then I do so. But otherwise, I don't. But I just take that time to be in tune with myself because the triggers are so real. But as far as intergenerational triggers, I experienced it earlier today. Something I learned from my mom is there's this idea of like within our family, my mom always kept telling me that the children always choose their dads, the fathers, over the mothers. This is what my mom says. And so my mom was always giving examples of, when we were growing up, all of mothers, my grandmother, we call her mother, all of mother's children used to always side with daddy about stuff, and mother went through this and this, and nobody understood what she was going through. When I was younger, my grandma and my mama had a terrible relationship. I didn't see my mom give my grandma any compassion until after my grandma passed away. And I'm not going to say any compassion. That was a strong statement. She was very limited in her showing of compassion towards my grandma while my grandmother was living. She took care of my grandma. She definitely did things for my grandma. I know she loved my grandma. But she definitely wasn't the person all the time rooting for her in a sense of telling my grandmother's side of the story from a place where my grandma looked like she was the heroine, right? And that's because during my mom's lifetime, her and my grandma was oftentimes getting into it. So intergenerational trigger for me is knowing that so many of the women in my family have issues with their daughters. But it comes from a place of the women in my family having this mindset that the children are going to side with the father. And I'm trying to figure out why is there even a choice? Like, this is a false dichotomy that children have to choose between loving their father or loving their mother. But that's something that apparently has been inherited. So I was talking with my aunt on my way back from visiting my family the last time, and my aunt began to share with me about how her grandmother, like, this was a thing that has occurred in our family over and over again. The father kind of being revered in a way where the mothers don't get the same level of reverence. I have a stepson. This morning, my stepson got up. He fixed cereal. He grabbed one of the biggest bowls he could find, wasted so much milk, and didn't use it. And so I told him, I said, next time, don't use that bowl. The reason why is because you're going to overfill the bowl, right? His dad heard me telling him not to use the bowl, and his dad says, oh, there was nothing wrong with him using that bowl. He ate most of that. I said, no. He could have got a smaller bowl, and then there wouldn't have been any waste. So his father began to basically state his opinion about the matter, and immediately I felt what my mom had said. These kids always want to take the side of their fathers. And so I was being triggered, not even consciously, but in that moment I went right back to what has been planted in my mind, and I automatically felt extra offended by something that might not even really be the case in my matter, but because this is something that I've heard and watched happen from my limited perspective, watched happen within my family. So I'm just like, wow, intergenerational traumas and triggers are so real. Especially if you have people who have experienced something, sharing their experience with the rest of the people from a way where they sway you to believe that this response that they have is warranted and that this, what happened, is fact. When a lot of times that was a personal opinion, that the children are going to choose their fathers and all that. That's not true.
Right.
But I felt hurt because that's what I had planted in me. So a lot of times, like Brother Diamond was saying, you have to test those triggers and find out, investigate, where did this come from? Is this even real? And I'm just like, wow. And I didn't catch it in the actual moment. I didn't catch it until later on, after we done had a whole argument about it. And then I come to my husband and I say, look, what I was saying wasn't nearly as important as to why I was saying it. Do you understand I was trying to teach our child not to be wasteful? Do you understand that you could have communicated that you had a difference of opinion with me without him being present? Because now you may be helping him to think that it's okay to challenge what I'm saying when I'm trying to teach. But at the end of the day, I had to catch myself and realize, like, as long as I share what I was supposed to share, I'm not responsible for how anybody receives it or if they decide to challenge you. If I know what I'm saying is true, then I have to be okay with speaking, truth to power and just saying what I say in the way that I say it without fears of rejection. Because that's another of my thing. Abandonment comes from this idea of rejection. So that's how it played out for me today. And I always get nervous and I feel so bad, and I was really hurting so much by that interaction because that's my trigger. Abandonment, which is rejection, and then being misunderstood, which is also rejection. When somebody doesn't accept what it is that you're saying, or they invalidate what you're saying or how you're feeling. And I'm doing what Diamond said, trying to find ways to build security within myself. And a lot of times that just looks like me having conversations with myself and saying, look, just because this person doesn't understand me, that doesn't mean that I'm not communicating effectively. That doesn't mean what I'm saying isn't worth being understood. They just don't understand me, but that's okay.
Positive self-talk.
Positive self-talk, yeah. But it's hard. But I wanted to share that. And then one last thing about the baby. My mom did that with us, and it did negatively impact us. And the reason why it negatively impacted us is because my mom says that she never wanted to have a man, but she always wanted to have children. And she always wanted to have children because she felt like she would always have somebody who loved her. But what she did is she made us was her end all be all to her happiness. Instead of her achieving happiness on her own and allowing for us to be modifiers and add on to her happiness, she placed her happiness in us. And then with that, she ended up having unrealistic expectations as to who it is that we were supposed to be. We were supposed to be her shining stars. We were supposed to be the light for her life. And then anytime when we would mess up as children are going to do, because we're little young souls and we're still navigating the world and figuring things out, she would take it so hard and so personal because she had us so that we could be for her something that we didn't even know how to be. And so now I find myself almost 1 year into my mom not talking to me because I've made choices with my life that she doesn't approve of, and it has ruined her. So the same thing with this lady, like the idea of if a pet doesn't show her the amount of affection and everything, and it's gonna be worse with the child. I experienced my child at times wanting to go to other people, like real life, just giving me the cold shoulder. It is hard to experience that because then you're looking like, oh my God, I birthed this kid and they're not being and doing what I thought they would do. But I have to remember she's her own person. So I pray that this lady finds before she is able to conceive. And I trust, God, like I trust that nothing happens without what is really meant to happen. Like it ain't about what we John said it ain't about what we wish, it's about what we will. And then there's a more perfect will. So I pray that she gets what she needs from herself before she pushes out a baby and expects this baby to give her something that she wasn't even able to give to herself, because it is not a comfortable feeling to grow up knowing that you were supposed to be somebody's literal love child. Like the whole purpose of them bringing you into existence was so that you could be their never-ending source of love, but they're not even their own never-ending source of love. And then one day they just decide, oh, you didn't meet my needs good enough, I'm going to just outright cut off time with you. And I already had issues with abandonment because my mama chose to have me and my sister by a person, even though she didn't want to have a man in her life. She didn't want a man, but we needed a man. We needed a father. But because of her ideas of how she wanted to have children, she didn't give us what we needed, because all she was thinking about was herself, the love that she wanted to have, and the love that she thought she was capable of giving. But we needed more than just her love. And now, after not being able to have a father present in my life, her choices and him not fighting hard enough, I'm not going to say that he didn't, have his own part in it. He could have fought harder to be in our lives. But now, after all this, me turning out to not be how she wanted, then she turned around and abandons me again in my adulthood. Now, I've had to do positive self-propaganda to coerce myself into believing rejection is a form of protection. She's not mentally well. She's trying to abandon you right now, but right now you have to appreciate that at least she can't reach you and hurt you, because we've had the not so greatest relationship. But I pray this lady does not do to a child what has been done to me. And I know my mom loves me, but I wish she loved herself good enough that when she loves me, it wouldn't hurt.
That's shame.
I'm about to be out. I'm about to go back into the show.
All right. Thank you, Amina, for calling in.
So
We really appreciate you, love.
Peace, Queen.
What's up?
Yeah.
Courage.
Yes.
Courage.
I say.
I love her.
Bringing out that warrior spirit.
Baby. Ooh. Yolanda, you want to call in, honey? She said, I definitely want to add.
She did, didn't she?
Man.
Yeah, she did say that, didn't she?
Yeah.
Go ahead, beloved. Come and call in.
Yeah, this is, again, a safe place. We healing, moving forward, learning to love we doing so much, learning to love ourselves, becoming aware of who we are, becoming aware of our past traumas, how it affects our lives right now. This is God Level. Who am I speaking with?
Yolanda, good evening,
Good evening.
Peace, Queen.
So, first and foremost, I want to tell my cousin, Amina, thank you. Because, like, we call each other sisters, so on and so forth. But
Right.
that's my blood. That's,
Oh,
that's like we were raised with each other. So a lot of what she said is definitely, I can relate to the generational curses because we're a part of the same generation and the same bloodline. So,
you still there?
absolutely.
Okay, take your time. No, take your time. Take your time.
So a lot of what Nina went through, I went through as well. We shared the same grandmother, or shared the same grandmother. But it was a little different for me. I literally grew up where my grandmother raised me. Same household every day. She was my mother. That's who we called her mother, but she was like really my mother. And that's not meant for any disrespect for my biological mother at all.
Right.
It's just the truth. That's just what it is, and I live in my truth now. So for me, as I was listening to my cousin talk, I was able to be honest with the trigger that I didn't really even think about for real. I thought about it, but that whole avoidance thing that you do when you are triggered by things. Last September, I lost my father. And my father wasn't sick. He was here 1 minute and gone the next, literally. And that was hard for me because I grew up where I was told that, I wasn't wanted by my father. And being a little girl, growing up, your father is your first love. That was what it was for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough now I know that what I was told was not the case. It was not the truth. I was living through my mother's trigger or how she triggered him. And I was kept away from my father for most of my life. And I think a lot of it was because there was things that was going on and happening to me that shouldn't have been happening. And God knows if my father knew, my father would have put a stop to it. Or at least I like to think so, right? I like to think that my father would have put a stop to it, and I just wouldn't have had to go through it. But unfortunately or fortunately, I had to go through what I went through. That was just what was written in the book for me. And when I lost my father, something that I will never forget as long as I live is how my mother reacted to the father of her daughter passing. And it haunts me. It really truly does. My father's anniversary of his death was last week.
Condolences, Queen.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I went out to my mother, expecting my mother to be a mother and be nurturing and hear me. And she didn't. And I stopped myself the other day because I literally sat here and I thought, why am I going through this emotional turmoil? Why am I feeling so anxious? Why am I feeling so hurt? Why am I lashing out at people who did not do anything to me? Why am I isolating myself? Why am I crying? Why am I tossing and turning all night? Why is all these things that make why? Why? And it wasn't until I really sat and listened to my cousin
understand
Mm.
that thing that my cousin was saying with my aunt and being taught that, the daughters, children naturally, they just know they're going to take their father's side. I think that's a real ignorant statement to make for so many reasons, because I feel like, why would you not want your child to be loved, or have somebody that they feel comfortable with running to? If it ain't me, then hey, go, have some comfort. And that was robbed of me. That was taken from me because of that fear, because of that generational madness that our bloodline had, and they believe, right?
Ashe.
That was taken from me. And it's really, really unfortunate, and I really, really dislike the fact that I will never be able to mend that. I'll never be able to try to renew what was taken from me. And it bothers me on so many levels. It really truly does. And I felt everything that my cousin was saying towards my dad. Like maybe I need to isolate myself, because if I'm not near him, then he won't hurt me. Right? I can't be hurt by somebody that's not in my life. And I think that whole thing, well, if my father really wanted to be in my life, he would have done so. But now, unfortunately, that I know he's gone, I now sit and I think, what was his triggers? What were the things that he was going through emotionally and mentally, with even the idea of fighting against my mother? And
Man,
Take your time, honey.
I really appreciate this.
No, you're
I
fine.
do.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
This is needed for so many young Black women and Black men, because it's allowing us to open up and understand some of the things that we went through, and being able to speak out loud and heal out loud. Because I'm a huge believer that I went through what I went through to save somebody else.
Yes.
So I appreciate it, and I thank y'all for allowing me to say what I had to say.
Ashe. Thank
We
you for sharing
appreciate
with us.
peace.
Thank you.
We appreciate you calling in. Thank you.
Have a good night, y'all.
You too.
Peace, Queen. Peace.
Ashe.
We had another episode where we were talking about the importance of having the father in the home front.
Mm-hmm.
And currently what we are talking about right now plays a big role, because you're not knowing what's triggering the mother or the father to keep the love that's necessary for that new offspring to have. That's very detrimental in today's society. We have a lot of children born without their mother or their father for unseen reasons, and no one is actually stepping up to the plate to understand this is a new life. How is it that I'm perpetuating the same cycle I either went through myself, or I'm doing the work of what society is going through already right now? I'm making an unfit home front. We recreating triggers all over again. as if this seed, this new seed that has become an infant, someday will have feelings and questions that will go left unanswered.
Mm-hmm. So, can we take a look real quick at the physiological source of these triggers? You mind if I show y'all that real quick?
Go ahead.
Because one thing
Let's do it.
I want to say this, that what we're doing is everything that Amina and her cousin Yolanda have expressed. What we've seen is this is a traditional triggering process. It's a tradition that's carried down from generation to generation, which makes it generational emotional triggers that actually goes down the line, right? So I want to show you. I want to first of all let you know that what's really being passed down is a lie. It's falsehood that's being passed down. It's not the truth about reality. All right, so I'm going to show you. I want to show you this because I'll never tell you nothing I can't prove. All right. So let's see. What can I share? Let me see. Let's share screen. Okay. Okay, screen sharing from 2 monitors. Blah blah blah. How do I do this? Is this my first time doing it on this one?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See. Oh, okay. Here it is. It gave me my options. Got it. All these things pop up. All right. So here. So let's take this down real quick. And John, can you do me a favor? Can you take the question down real quick? We'll put it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sir. So we're looking at the limbic system here, right? Now this is part of the what we call the animal brain. This is one of the animal brain. It came second to the R complex of the reptilian brain. This limbic system is where we develop. Its purpose is for us to have emotional connections with one another. So we can feel. This is where empathy and all that stuff also comes from. But you see that the green spot right there, the amygdala.
Mm-hmm.
We have a left and right one. That's actually where our emotions are stored. Right there. Our emotions, that's what allows us to recall triggers, recall events and things like that. And it works both ways. Things that made us happy and excited and brought us joy, as well as things that made us angry, fearful, and sad and so forth. Right? It works both ways. Now, the thing about this is that the amygdala, it gets big and it gets small, all depend on the mental state of the person. So what they found was, can you guys see my cursor? Am I in the right place? Wait a minute. Can you see
Okay,
it?
yeah.
Now you can see it? Okay. I was trying to read it, trying to figure out which screen the cursor can be on. But right here, we have the prefrontal lobe.
Mm-hmm.
So the prefrontal lobe is where it gives us our higher functions. Now, the thing about the amygdala in this relationship, also with the cingulate gyrus here, which we also call the cingulate cortex, the amygdala storing emotion, and also it regulates emotional memory and our access to these emotional memory. The more emotional we are, the smaller it is. But what they found is that the smaller the amygdala is, the more disassociated with the prefrontal lobe that we are as well. So there's a disassociation. You know who else has that disassociation? Sociopaths, serial killers, people in those kind of areas as well. Okay, so they have those disassociation with the prefrontal lobe as well. Somehow all of that probably got triggered where it got established from an emotional event. And it could have been things that passed down from generation to generation. All right. So this is where your emotions live, right here in this little thing. And then the memories then go out to the endocrine system to actually form chemicals that actually give life and physical being to these emotions, which attach to receptors in each cell in your body. You got a 70 to 100 trillion cells in your body, and those hormones will attach. And the more you practice this emotion, the more these triggers lead you to these emotional states, the more easily these receptor sites are filled with these hormones. That's going to give you this experience that seems real, and it's not real. The reason why I say that is if you didn't have your body, if you didn't have the amygdala, you would not be experiencing what you're experiencing, despite what has happened. Despite what has happened. So the reason I'm telling you this, you can literally change. When I'm talking about creating another condition also allows you to change your the way this amygdala also expresses, and also it can also change the relationship between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. All right, I want to show you one more image because this one also is important. I hope this changes. All right, that changed. There it is. It changed. Here we're looking at a chromosome, and we know that the chromosomes are literally just corded up DNA, right? Now, what we're looking at is an epigenetic process here. All right, so we have this epigenetic factor that literally attaches itself to the histone tails. This is a histone, and this is a histone tail. Now, your emotional responses to these triggers becomes these epigenetic factors, and they're gonna dictate whether or not these genes express or not. And also with the lack of ability of expressing these genes, you can lead to some of these health endpoints: cancer, autoimmune disease, mental disorders, and diabetes. So swimming in these emotions is like you taking poison voluntarily. You understand? So, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this so I'm hoping I can inspire you to take control of this. Don't let your triggers be a source for your quality of life anymore. Don't let it be that. Take control over it. Do something about those. Figure out what those triggers are by going to see a professional, sitting down in meditation to really focus on it. Find some way to get out of that loop so you can start something else. All right, because these epigenetic factors literally change the way your DNA expresses. So emotions go cellular, they go genetic. So even this is another way that even women, because this also is recorded in your mitochondrial DNA, which you will pass down to your offspring. All right, so but it's going to form in your offspring as dispositions to these particular diseases. You see, that's the way it passed down to the offspring. So we right now, all of us on here, let me stop the share screen. All of us on here have a duty right now to change the way that we're responding to the experiences we're having in life. We have a duty to start to earn what it is that we feel we deserve in life. Let them things line up. Let them line up. All right. So this is important. Understand that those things they're not real. They're just the way you're responding to these things. A lot of times people are just afraid to let things go. And because it's so bad. Oh, well, he raped me. How can I let that go? You can literally let that go. You can literally let that go. You carrying on that experience is you having that experience over and over and over. And I'm saying this is for your good. It's not about giving somebody a pass, but it's about keeping your health and sanity.
Right.
That's what it's about.
Right.
All right.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that, brother Diamond. Big time. You see that what I just highlighted? Amina comment is posted on the screen now.
Yes.
Yes.
The whole I don't need a man. Yeah, that's pushed. That's being pushed. Um, you know what?
Mm.
I used to say it too. I don't need a man. I want one. Need is such a strong. I used to say this. Need is such a strong word. Need is to me. I need water. I need food. I need a job to pay my. I don't look at men as if I don't have one, I'm gonna die. So I don't say I need. I'll say I want. I desire to have one.
But there is like an emotional reaction because it becomes a trigger word for
Mhm.
a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Especially Black women, right?
Yeah.
And when you emphasize the word need, the other related word is dependence, right?
Facts.
So dependence, the experience of having to depend
Uh huh.
on a man
Yeah.
is triggering,
Mm-hmm.
likely because they've witnessed the
Yes.
outcomes of Black women or a Black woman,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's themselves or their mother, their auntie, their grandmother, being dependent
Yeah.
on a Black man that didn't necessarily love them favorably.
No.
Um,
Right.
and so witnessing that can become traumatic for a Black
Oh
woman.
yeah.
And then when you have like a whole like you have a lot of Black women experiencing that in mass, then yeah, it becomes a cultural idiom, a cultural archetype, right? And it just self-perpetuating,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so it's not necessarily a true statement, but it becomes it's reinforced. So you have Black women and Black men in these relationships, and you have some of them that are actually true, where it's, you know, a Black woman is codependent on a Black man who ends up mistreating her, and so it kind of perpetuates. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, because it's not that Black women are seeking to be codependent; they're really seeking to be interdependent, right? But
Yes.
it's hard to acquire that when the culture is already pre-installed with these experiences that have been passed down. So there is something there. But as Saba Diamen was saying, you know, the whole idea is we want to challenge these beliefs because what it really comes down to is memories,
Right.
thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And Saba Diamen also proposed and recommended that you seek the advice or the counsel of a mental health professional to help you inventory your beliefs, to help you inventory your memories, your traumatic memories, your intrusive thoughts, and then to challenge them, to challenge your beliefs surrounding them. Because let's get back to again what he was saying earlier. Your triggers are not the summation of your experiences. Your memories are not the summation of your experiences. You are not your memories. This is a thing you have. You have a mental illness. You have an emotional experience. You have a traumatic memory, but you don't have to be limited to that. And so, by exploring the beliefs that are surrounded um, your experiences, by exploring them, you can become aware of them, and then you can challenge them to the point where you're sort of desensitized to them, mainly because you understand them. Now, after that, it becomes about strategizing because you can't hide from all of your triggers, right? We're not trying to
Right.
avoid our triggers. We're not trying to avoid anything. We're warriors. We're spiritual warriors. And so we're rising to a challenge. Your trigger is challenging you, right? Challenging you to transcend it. So after you inventory them and you develop strategies on how to cope, for example, if your trigger is fireworks, right? For me, it's been fireworks for quite some years. Fireworks triggers me, right?
Okay.
So if you haven't gotten to the space where, or the condition where you can experience or expose yourself to that trigger without overreacting, you have to strategize around that. You have to prepare for that until the stimulus no longer has that kind of effect on you. Being aware that, all right, hey, abandonment is my trigger. Um, the smell of smoke is my trigger. Whatever it is, you have to strategize for those. And that again is setting the conditions until you're able to confront them and not overreact.
I see.
God level. Can you read that comment? I would greatly appreciate it.
So I'm realizing the importance of finding a tribe of trustworthy men because I believe that men are essential. Queen Renee Wright, you are blessed having identifiable, and reliable kings in your life on a close level. And I say this all the time. I'm very fortunate.
Yes. I say.
I am
I say,
very,
I say, I say.
very, very fortunate to have these men in my life. They are so different from my past. These men will be a part of my future. Is it history? My past, present. I'm not letting them go, and they not letting me go.
Nada.
They not. I'm not letting them go. I'm not. I am very fortunate to have them in my life. I love how I can sit here and be in my feminine energy. I don't have to be masculine. For what? That's their job. That's their job. And it flows. I'm not disrespected. I'm highly respected. I love that.
I say.
Yeah. So when I read that, man, I love y'all.
We love, we love you.
You don't see this quite often. My brother just pointed it out earlier. 3 alpha males, not arguing, not fighting, respecting one another. You don't see this very often. You really don't. And then here I'm the only female on here. I'm not being disrespected. I'm not getting loud. This is we're flowing. This is a vibe. This is an energy. This is love. This is peace. This is understanding. I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. I would not have it any other way.
I say.
So yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope you find your tribe. Hold on.
Mm, I say. I
See
say.
what TT said?
I say.
That's our father, sister.
Mm, that's gotta feel good.
Man. Hey, Auntie.
Yes.
Hey, TT.
This is definitely a vibe for sure. Thank you, Miss Yolanda. Good for the soul on this Sunday. Absolutely.
Glad to be of service. Ain't that right, Kate?
Man. Yes.
Always. I'm always in service.
Glad to be of service. I say.
I'm telling you. My
Always.
brothers showed me some things this week. They showed me some things this week, honey. I'll never forget it. You know, I will never forget it. Okay, I'm not gonna say anymore.
I say.
Peace, peace, peace.
Want to encourage everybody to find something constructive to do.
Hmm.
That energy, as we say, was the energy that actually brought the universe into creation. Don't misuse it. That emotional energy is very powerful. It's like a high. It's actually more dangerous than a very high caliber gun
True.
because it radiates out, and it definitely dictates and determines the quality of your reality. That means you can get stuck in your own paradigm. You can get stuck in that thing and not know how to get out of there. But also you're going to start to affect others.
Oh yes.
Okay. So this is why you want to make sure, what type of world do you want to see? Be that. Just be that. Start walking and operating as if that world is already so. And don't let nothing knock you off that. That's what I call strength. When you can hold your ground emotionally, hold peace as the highest priority. Always. So thank all of you for allowing me and allowing us to invade your space today. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. That question that John has posed up here, how do you manage and resolve your triggers? Thank you. I think that should be the title to our next show. We're already running at 1 hour and 40 minutes right now.
Mm-hmm.
That should definitely be the title to the next show. Oh my God. I love y'all.
I love that, Amina.
Wake up every day and say your affirmations.
Yes.
Hey, DM me that, Amina. Can you DM me that affirmation, please?
I'm doing affirmation for healing abandonment. I'm not lonely. Yes. Yes. My one thing that John has recognized about me is that I get so much farther when I'm focused on myself. When I am truly focused on myself, I am a force to be reckoned with. I do amazing things when I am focused just on myself.
And the results are speaking so loud, aren't they?
So loud.
Because you got comparison now. So
yes.
You got a comparison now. You got several examples.
Yes, I do.
Undeniable examples. Undeniable results.
Oh my God.
So you know now. You know.
I do. And all I can do is I can't find your name, brother. Who is she looking for?
She's looking for Saba Diamond.
Let me see if I can tag you into something.
My friends list is not public. I was getting ready to say, go check my friends list. But his name is on the video that I posted. Yeah. Words of wisdom. Thank you. Hey, TT. How are TT? Call in so we can hear your beautiful voice. You see that number down there. You know you can just call. Where my phone at?
Let me look her up. You don't mind if I friend her, do you?
Who are you asking? Royal treatment guy level. I love you, Miss J. Praise. This is beautiful. This has been a beautiful this has been a good show. It's been a beautiful show. I want to thank everyone for calling in. I want to thank everyone for their comments. I want to thank everyone that's watching, that even if you didn't say a word, thank you. Special shout out to Miss Yolanda. It took a lot for her to do what she did. This shared a lot of courage and sharing with us, especially on this platform. And we remind everyone that this is a place of peace. This is a safe place to share. Oh yeah, thank you, Sharon Mitchell.
That's TT as well.
To acquire that, we
share. Okay, who's that? Yeah, thank you, Sharon Mitchell. Who's that? Yeah, why was the background is in the lane? Who's that? Why was the background is in the lane? Y'all didn't hear that?
Yeah, I heard.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I was like, it's a lot going on. I didn't realize.
I see. I went back to the first shot, I had to just natural today.
I would like to remind those who are viewing this broadcast to complement what the God level spoke about, and then looking at the comments here, we've had some people share some of their triggers, right? This is very sensitive information to know about anybody, right?
It is.
So what makes this so conducive to healing is the safe space, right? But also the empathy, the level of empathy that it takes to honor somebody's triggers. That's very important. So, we could probably cover that in the next show, but that's very important. So, in terms of your relationships, you are responsible in terms of establishing your boundaries, right? And also communicating your triggers if you have any. This is presuming relationships that you value, relationships that are healthy, okay? So we're not talking about you sharing your triggers with narcissistic people or people who are predisposed to narcissism. We're not talking about that because that's definitely not wise. We're talking about people you care about that you have chosen to commit to in a relationship. Doesn't matter if it's romantic, friendship, even work related, right? But people cannot honor your triggers if you don't communicate them effectively. You have to also practice that as well. And so that's why I say I think this will roll over into the next one. But honoring triggers could very well be its own love language. Respecting and honoring somebody's triggers through empathy and demonstrating that. Because again, you can have 50 people looking at the same stimulus that's somewhat traumatic, and all 50 of those individuals react, respond, interpret that stimulus differently. So everyone that's traumatized or has experienced trauma doesn't always have a trigger. So we have to be clear on that. Everybody doesn't always develop triggers as a result of trauma. But for those who do, inventorying your triggers, knowing how to deal with them, knowing how to manage them, that is first. That's for you. Then it becomes, all right, I need to ensure that in my environments, I'm not trying to control in my environment. I'm trying to navigate my environment. And I want to ensure that I'm producing appropriate responses to my environment that are conducive to me and my goals and the vision that I see for myself. That includes informing people that are in your tribe, hey, these are my triggers. So your tribe is going to hold you accountable in terms of ensuring that you don't go into those areas or you don't associate with those type of people, or that you don't just willingly, blindly go into those events, knowing that you haven't fully healed from those triggers, and also understanding the implications if you were to get caught up in those whirlwinds of triggers, right? So just supporting you in your triggers, and then also for them, to modify their behavior so that they're not saying or doing anything that's triggering towards you. So empathy, and creating a safe space. And for some of us, again, I totally understand everybody is not there yet. Everyone doesn't have the emotional intelligence or the empathy to receive and acknowledge other people's triggers because they're working on their own. But just take that in mind. Those two ingredients, creating a safe space, as we have done right here. This is the model. This is, or not the model, but a model where you can be in a safe space and empathize with someone who has unique experiences that are very contrast to yours, or even relatable ones. So this is about creating that healing space, and hopefully, faithfully, and as we have observed, we're seeing some effects, and people are blossoming from it as a result.
That's right. I say.
You're muted.
Yeah, I muted because I was typing and I didn't know if it was coming across while you were speaking. So I wanted to make sure that you had the floor without any background noise. But yeah, we are inspiring people to change. Like Love Sean said, it is never too late to change. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to change. I got that from Love Shine. I'm going to close out with that every chance I get. It is never too late to change. I don't care how old you are. 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. It is never too late to change. Did someone just ask, is there a Facebook group?
Yes. So
Oh,
at this point, no. Not that I know of. Is there a
Do we
Facebook?
need to create one?
hmm.
I'm gonna say no, because we not all are available at the same time to attend to the Facebook group.
Fair enough.
Mm,
We doing this as a unit,
Mm.
right.
and if we were to commit to a Facebook group, are we trying to commit to a 7-day a week?
Well,
Well,
we
it's just a group for them
no,
to
no,
come with and share.
no. It wouldn't be like that. It would be more so a group of positive information concerning whatever topic we're going to be discussing on Sunday. Um, Information that can be used, if they're seeking a therapist. It's just stuff that we can be able to post related to the topics that we're going to be talking about. Woof. Yeah, that is something to think about, though.
Mhm.
Oh, but then that shout out to Jay, and you know Jay personally.
I
Mhm.
do.
Yeah, you do. You met him before.
I have. I was looking at his
Yeah.
picture.
New
Tell
subject.
me, thank you.
New subject.
I was like, okay, Jay. Yeah. Okay, Jay. Okay.
Uh,
Well,
beautiful.
he put it all out there. I mean,
God level. God level.
okay. Wait a minute. Whose turn is it this week? Is it Diamond's?
That it is.
That it is.
1 second.
Go ahead.
Oh,
And while he get himself
Right.
He went Super Saiyan
hard.
real quick. He went Super
Hard.
Saiyan real quick.
All right.
Super
yes, baby.
Saiyan.
Yes. Where that hat, honey? I gotta ship 2 off tomorrow to Texas. Thank you.
Super Saiyan on him.
All right. All right. Won't you take me to Funky Town? 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 Won't you take me to the city with a silent identity where the sun shines from a distance of infinity, where 65% of young black women grow up to be street hoes and crackhead highs are delivered by politician lies from dimes, doves, and fives to sell from a strive to stay alive throughout the weekend. Blood evaporates from the concrete on the horizon where the sky seems to meet the street and sometimes the top of the trees. Mothers praying for their children on their knees because everybody's name is on a bullet. And now millimeters are the daddies of the household, and single mothers are left alone to grow old, and ex-boyfriends return trying to be bold, but suddenly retreats from a reduced ego, where the only hope for our children resides at community centers and family dinners, and absent fathers are at an all-time high, and families are barely getting by, where a walk down the block can end in a rendezvous with a Glock, and your children cry because you all they got, and ain't nobody else there, where the ice cream man composes songs of happiness between the 1st and the 15th, and the screaming of Jesus' name marks the climax of bad times, so a pocket full of dimes is the answer. Where mentalities are callous with predetermined destinies that only reach the stop sign at the corner, and only pills and liquor eases the wounds created by an economic castration that never ceases. And fast cash and bad cars leave folk perplexed about who the enemy really is. So mind your biz. And genocide drips from white man lips, and ain't nothing in the black man's pocket, and no heat and light in his sockets. But he knows the difference between keeping it real and being real and keeping it. So won't you please take me to Funky Town? You see, that's my home, where the union of a struggling mother and a nameless father gave me life. That's where I learned my ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. Where my sister acquired mental inflictions and my brother acquired false depictions of life, and I saw my uncle die beneath the street lights, and somebody had the nerve to tell me that everything was all right. For on a nightly basis, I was tucked in by the sounds of gunshots and sirens after my bath. And the next morning I had breakfast with the aftermath and lunch with the memories and dinner with the tears, while in between I snacked on bits of courage to get me through it all. And it seems my complaints never reached City Hall. Funky Town made me the man that I am. So won't you please take me to Funky Town? Won't you please take me to Funky Town? Won't you take me to the only father I've ever known, Unc Uja Seneb.
I gotta step my game up. Gaudiamin. This is things that people don't want to talk about. We will see you all back here next week. John, you got that in for us, baby? How we doing?
Yeah.
All right.